Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 95 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Joey and Nick. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. Glad to be back.
What's up, fellas? What's up, everybody? Let's get it.
Let's get it. We've got an action-packed episode here today. Joey, great to have you back on. Know you've been working real hard. Just glad to have you back on the pod, man.
It's that busy season. Everyone's home from the holidays. Everyone wants to eat out. Everyone's getting sick. I'm just trying to make my money right now.
Let's go.
You can do. But yeah, we've got a lot going on here in this episode. So let's just get right into it with Pirtle, as we always do. Now, look, Pirtle, we've been kind of on a roll here the last few episodes. We've gotten a lot of twos lately, so we definitely want to keep the streak going, or maybe even get it in one this time. That'd be incredible if we got it first try. But Nick, you've got a player in mind that you would like to guess first here. As always, if you want to play along with us, play along at home.
Yeah. So I got a player who's been in the league a while, hopped around a lot. I'm not sure exactly what number he is right now, but he's playing for the Clippers, and that's the Tuck Wagon, baby. PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker. All right. An oldie. Let's see. Okay. PJ Tucker. There he is. All right. Western Conference forward who's taller and not old.
Not great.
No, we got the conference down, and we know which division it's not in.
Yeah, this could be – we could try Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram.
What number is he?
Number 14, so it wouldn't be yellow.
Yeah.
He's definitely taller. He's
definitely younger.
I think let's try Brandon.
Let's try Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram. I better. Oh, my gosh. We're almost right there. So this is a Northwest forward that wears the number 13 or 12. That's 6'9" or 6'10". A 6'9" or 6'10" forward?
Tamani Kamara comes to mind.
I think he changed his jersey number. I don't know what he wears now.
I think he's a single digit.
Okay.
Ooh.
Northwest Division. So yeah, there's Portland. Who's 13 or 12? I don't think anyone there. Minnesota. No. Utah 13 or 12. I don't think so. OKC. Usman Jang is number 13, and he's like a taller, younger guy.
Who's the last team in the conference? Sacramento?
No. Oh, my gosh. Wait. Let's see.
No, Sacramento's in Pacific.
Let's see. Utah, OKC, Minnesota.
Denver.
And Denver doesn't have a 13 or 12.
Usman Jang, baby.
Usman Jang.
Let's try it.
Usman Jang.
What a pull.
Yes!
Yes!
Wow.
What a pull.
Perfect process of elimination right there. There we go.
That wasn't two, but that was pretty clinical, I would say.
Absolutely.
That was pretty good. I think all the guesses were pretty good there. But
solid start to episode 95.
Absolutely a solid episode.
We are underway.
Let's get into the episode here. A lot to get into. But before we get into any official news headlines, we've got the NBA Cup Championship game going on later tonight that we're going to preview. I wanted to talk to you guys about the MVP race so far, now that we're about 25-plus games into the season, because I feel like not a whole lot of outlets are really talking about the MVP race so far. And, of course, we're still early into the season. But I'm curious to see where kind of our heads are at with the race so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name the top 4 players that I think are in MVP consideration. See if you guys agree with me and kind of, where we think the award could go going forward. Because I think that this is certainly interesting this season, where I think the two best players in the league have been, I believe, Jokic and Giannis, but their team records have not been that great. They're kind of in like the middle of the conference compared to other guys at the top of the conference, and that's usually where the MVP award does go. So top 4 guys in MVP, I think Jokic right now, he's averaging 31 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists per game. His team, the Nuggets, 13-10, fifth in the Western Conference. Then you got Giannis leading the league in scoring at 33 a game with 11 rebounds and 6 assists. His team, similar to the Nuggets, 14-11, sixth in the Western Conference, or in the Eastern Conference. Then you've got Shea, I think, 30 points, 5 boards, 6 assists, 20-5, first in the West, third best record in the league. And then fourth guy, probably Tatum, 28 points, 9 boards, 5 assists, 21-5, second best record in the league. What do you guys think about those top 4 guys being the top 4 in MVP right now?
I think those are the pretty clear top 4. I would agree with every single one of those.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I think there's a fifth guy that we're leaving off the list that, there's still a lot of time left in the season, and he could certainly. I mean, I still think his name should be mentioned in those. I think there's 5 guys that could still win it, and Luka is the last one that we haven't talked about. But yeah, I could see it going any of those places right now. I think it's a 5-man race, and it's kind of wide open.
I was gonna say, I know Luka's had a little bit of a rougher than past, at least season statistical wise, but he's still one of the most unguardable people and always makes the right play. So of course he's going to be in the conversation regardless, I think. But
yeah, I mean, he's coming off of a crazy game on Sunday night against Golden State, and we'll get to that game a little later, a little history there. But Luka's averages are now up to 29 points, 8.5 rebounds, 8 assists per game, and the Mavericks have been the hottest team in the league over the last few weeks or so. That's definitely he definitely should be mentioned there in the top 5. At least just had that rough start, but this definitely could be a pretty wide open MVP race. Obviously, so many players playing great, but also the fact that, like I said before, like the top players in the league, their teams just haven't really been that successful. It's kind of been on the backs of them. Well, the MVP award in years past, like I know Joey's a big stickler for one of the better records should win the MVP award, and there are certainly great players doing that, but the number 1, number 2, number 3 players in the league haven't been on those teams.
I do reward winning. If you're the most valuable, like you take that player off the team, how well do they do? If you're a playing team, if you take them off, well, then they're not a playing team. They're not a playoff team. They stink. But if you're taking one of the top seeds, and if you take them off and they're immediately like not even in the play-in, and that, at least that's how I look at it sometimes. But I feel like, especially now that we have solidified the play-in tournament and the top 6 get automatic bids to the playoffs, I think as long as you get home court advantage, the top 4 seed, or in some cases, like if Jokic continues to have this phenomenal season and gets like a 5th seed, but we know how stacked the West is just based off the standings, like they have a good record, but they're 5th in the West. That's just how good the West is. So I wouldn't penalize it personally, just because, especially with the West, just because of how tough it is.
Interesting. So if let's just say the standings, like if the season ended here today and Denver was the 5th seed, we should also mention, we were talking about in the pre-pod lobby just how competitive the West is. Denver is the 5th seed, but they're only a game and a half ahead of 12 the Sacramento. So it could change, in a few days. That's how just crazy the Western Conference is right now. But if the season did finish today and Denver was the 5th seed, would you give Jokic the MVP over those other guys that we mentioned? Just because he has been the best player, I would say, and I would say he has been the most valuable. But again, if his team is just a 5th seed, you would still give it to Nikola Jokic?
I would, yes, if I was a voter, but I am not, and we all know of voter fatigue. So when it's a lot of variables that you're bringing in, and you can't like exclude it from one another. I wouldn't penalize them, but as a voter, if you're seeing Jokic, who's won multiple MVPs already, and just won it. Like, and if he's not any home court advantage, they're going to be like, wait a second. They're usually a top seed. This year, they're having a down seed. He's not carrying them. They're going to look at just the standings and the voter fatigue, and they're not going to give it to him. I don't think he would get it. I would vote for him, though. just because I don't want to penalize voter fatigue. If you're the most valuable player and you're having a historic season, you got to give it. It was the same argument I had with LeBron way back in the day and got so angry about it. People were claiming a voter fatigue. It's like, well, LeBron's the best player on the planet. Same thing. Jokic is the best player on the planet. He doesn't have his team playing bad. I don't see an issue.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is second in the league in scoring, second in rebounding, second in assists, second in 3-point percentage. Oh my goodness.
He's so good.
He's second in like literally every single statistic. It has been incredible. Nick, where do you kind of stand on the MVP race right now? Do you think that if it kind of stands right now, Jokic and Giannis kind of finish in the middle of the standings, but they keep playing like this, do you think that the league could reward one of those guys, or would they still go with a guy like Shea or Tatum or Luka, who are higher up in the conference?
Coming into the year, it was like Luka and Shea's award to lose pretty much because there were a lot of more complex routes for Jokic and Giannis and even Tatum to like win the award this year because of the fact that voter fatigue exists and they both won the award in the past, and Tatum's just kind of in a difficult spot because he's on a really good team and we don't really know how much credit to give him. So if the season ended today, I would give it to Shea because he, I think, has been the best player on the best team. And he had a great showing in the cup, just dominated his matchup versus Luka, and that's the reason why the Thunder won that game and are playing the Bucks in the cup finals tonight. I do think that it's really interesting that Giannis and Shea are going head to head in this cup game tonight because I think those two are probably just the way the season is going right now, where the momentum lies at this point in the middle of December. It's like neck and neck between them two because Giannis and the Bucks are surging, and he's been putting up 35 and 15 on a nightly basis, and they've been like 10-2, or they've had a really good 2-week stretch. But Shea has just been dominant in every opportunity he's gotten and really willed them to a lot of their wins, like especially in the cup game versus the Mavericks, and has them playing really well. And he's the best player on that team. So I right now I give it to Shea. I think it's his award to lose. And I think a win would go a long way in this cup game to help his case. And I'm not necessarily sure a win would do the same thing for Giannis's case in this game tonight.
Interesting. That's definitely interesting. I think, well, Shea, talking about how valuable he is. I mean, you mentioned the Mavericks game. He was essential in that Houston game on Saturday, in a game where no one could score. The defense was at a T in that game. The shooting was definitely rough. But in the third quarter, when Shea Gilgeous-Alexander started taking over, that was the difference in the game. It shows how valuable it is to have a guy like him that can make any type of tough shot on the floor. He's still having a very efficient season at 51% shooting from the field. I think that Shea would probably be my front runner right now as well. But I think Giannis definitely has some potential if the Bucks can keep rising up the standings as they have been over the last few weeks. Because right now they're sixth. I think there's a world where they could jump up to fourth or even third right now. Because right now, when you look at the East, the teams ahead of them, you've got the Miami Heat at the 5th seed. I think the Bucks could definitely jump over them. Orlando has been really good. They've been very surprising, especially with their injuries. We'll see if they can kind of hold up with now both Franz and Paolo out. And the question to me is the New York Knicks, because kind of hard to tell right now, the New York Knicks, the consistency, because one night they look unstoppable. Then another night they give up a whole bunch of points in a close game with the Pistons or the Raptors and stuff like that. So I think the Bucks could definitely jump up in the standings. I think the big question is definitely going to be Jokic if the Nuggets kind of stay in that range, or even if they fall into the play-in. But he's still the best player in the league. It'll definitely be interesting to see. I'm excited to see how it plays out.
If he definitely falls to the play, and I definitely know Jokic won't win it, then I do like what Nick was saying though, because I think tonight's NBA Cup Finals, we have, like you said, Miles, we haven't heard much about the MVP race. I think after tonight and this final, you actually might start hearing the talk, because you'll start getting the talk about, hey, Shea, Giannis, this is a trophy kind of game. I watch a lot of soccer. Trophies mean something. This one gets their whole team a lot of money. Might be a little bit of bragging rights, and especially for the Bucks, they've been doing good. This is a thing to keep their momentum. So I think after tonight, you'll hear a lot of talk about who's the front runner, and it might just go to whoever wins it tonight.
Yeah, that would certainly be possible here. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on the MVP race so far. But let's get into tonight. We've kind of previewed it a little bit, but it is the championship game of the 2024 Emirates NBA Cup. It's tonight at 8:30 on ABC. It's the Bucks and the Thunder, two hot teams in the league right now. I just mentioned two of the top players in the NBA going at it, and this is certainly going to be a fun matchup. I cannot wait for this one. This is certainly going to be a fun test for the Milwaukee Bucks because they've been playing so well as of late. Nick, you mentioned Giannis's numbers over the last few games. I mean, he has been putting up those 35 and 15 numbers on a nightly basis, and it has been incredible. But now they get tested against, a team that I believe can win the NBA championship this season, one of the favorites to win it all this season, and a Thunder team that's been playing so well really the whole season. So, Nick, here, let's start with you. What is something that you're kind of looking at with this Thunder Bucks matchup?
Yeah, I do think the Bucks are in trouble. They can't really guard anybody, and you're asking them to guard not only Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but Jalen Williams is a huge offensive creator for them, and they don't really have a matchup for either of those guys. So I think that's going to be a big thing to watch. From the Bucks perimeter defense perspective, the key for them to win, the formula for them to pull this game out and beat the Thunder in the Cup is going to be to feed Giannis and to he needs to be the main offensive enforcer getting to the paint, because Dame, I don't know if he's going to get his, but I think he's going to be relegated to spot up shots, and he's going to have to really work to get to his spots versus Shea and J-Dub and Caruso and Lou Dort. So I really think it's going to come down to how impactful can Giannis be in the paint and how often can he find those shooters and how good are those shooters going to be when they get those touches on the three-point line. I think Giannis has a good matchup in this one because OKC's interior defense is their weakest link. So I think he's going to have a big night and go for 35 to 40 again, even though it's going to be a struggle because of OKC is really good defense. But we'll just have to see how reliable those shooters can be and if Dame can get to his spots or not.
Yeah, Milwaukee's size could definitely be an advantage in this one. We saw even in the Thunder game against Houston on Saturday when the Rockets were kind of taking advantage of the game. It was because they were getting a lot of second chance opportunities and taking advantage of the size that the Rockets have. Bucks, kind of similar. They really have the height advantage at every position besides, Shea against Damian Lillard, which those matchups are certainly going to be fun. The Thunder will have a lot of players to throw on Damian Lillard. Likewise, Milwaukee, they're going to have to rely on Andre Jackson, Gary Trent, Taurean Prince to kind of guard up Shea and J-Dub and all that. I think Lou Dort is going to be a big player for OKC on the offensive end in this one. Obviously, we know what he can do defensively, but I think that there is a world where Milwaukee tries to have Giannis guard Lou Dort as kind of a help defender, have Taurean Prince guard J-Dub, maybe something like that. Kind of use Giannis and Brook Lopez as help defenders, in certain situations. I think there are certainly a lot of matchups to look at across the board. Joey, what's something that you're going to be looking at with this matchup here tonight?
I'm kind of along the lines with Nick, what it kind of just going off of what he was saying. If the Bucks, this is going to be a great game. Both these teams going into this season, we thought were going to be really, really good, and obviously, the Bucks started off a little rougher, but they've gotten it going. If they can play to their strength, they'll keep it close with the Thunder because the Thunder are the most complete team right now. But right now, their weakness, because Chet is injured, they don't have any inside kind of defending. So as long as if the Bucks can take care of that inside, they might be in pretty good shape. But don't get ahead of yourself because OKC has all the shooters, all the defense. They have pretty much almost every advantage because, even if you're pointing to, J-Dub and Giannis, obviously Giannis has the advantage, but J-Dub's been pretty dang great this year. So it's not he's going up against, a role player. No, he's going against J-Dub, who's, an all-star right now. So
Yeah, it's more
not
so
like it's not a huge advantage. But I don't know. There's a world where I see the Bucks do win it. Darvin Ham is undefeated in the NBA Cup as a coach, so maybe that streak goes. But personally, I think it's all up to the Thunder. If the Thunder start making mistakes because they're a young team in this kind of pressure situation, this will be a really big test to see it. Even though it's not a playoff atmosphere, it's the closest thing you're going to get to a playoff atmosphere this early in the season. I think this is going to be a good test for the Thunder to see how real they are, even though we all believe they're real and they're contenders. But this will solidify, like, hey, we're the favorites outside of Boston. You can't do nothing to stop us.
Yeah, I think that the winner of if Milwaukee won this game, it would mean more for the Bucks to win it than the Thunder as far as morale going forward, because Milwaukee has been in a ton of tight games against some of the best teams in the league this season. They've been in a ton of tight ones against the Celtics, against the Cavs, have lost all of them. So I think they need a victory against a team like OKC to kind of get that morale boost a little bit. Like, okay, we can hang with the best. We know we have some of the best players like Dame and Giannis have played like a top duo in the league. They just haven't been able to get over the hump against those other top teams in the league. This is certainly a great opportunity for them to do so on a big stage like this.
100%. Well, this could definitely keep that good couple weeks. Just keep it going. Maybe they can get a top 4 seed like everyone predicted they would be by the end of the year.
Yeah, and it's certainly interesting too, because for this championship game, this is the only game throughout the entire Emirates Cup that doesn't count toward the regular season record. This just counts as an extra game being played here, so it doesn't count towards regular season record. But either way, I can't wait for this matchup. I think this does have potential to be one of the better games that we've seen so far this season, because these two teams, I think, do match up pretty well against each other because of the Bucks size advantage, but we know how great the Thunder are defensively. Predictions for this game, Nick, sounds like you're going with the Thunder in this one.
Yep.
You know what? Just to go against the grain, I think Darvin Ham will be undefeated, and Giannis is going to go for like 40 and 15.
I think he will too. I just don't think it'll be enough.
Oh,
this is tough. You know what? I'm going to go with the Bucks too. I think the Bucks pull it off. But it's certainly going to be a close one. I think we might see some Dame time late in the game, like we kind of saw at the end of the Hawks game that they played. Because, I mean, give credit to the Atlanta Hawks in that game. I mean, they almost beat the Bucks in that one too. I mean, the Hawks have been pulling off crazy upsets, in this cup the whole season. So
what if we get a Dame 2.0 where he sends home the Thunder again like he did with the Blazers back in the day?
That's another storyline in this as well. That could certainly happen. That'd be a ton of fun if that happened. If
the waving goodbye again.
Yeah, but either way, certainly excited for that one. Can't wait. Again, that one tonight, 8:30 on ABC, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's going to be so much fun. Can't wait to see what happens in that one. Now, let's get into some trades. NBA silly season is here.
Silly season. Yeah. Let me explain that real quick, because in F1 and Formula 1, when teams are trading contracts and drivers are switching teams, it's called silly season during the offseason. So now that the free agent contracts from over the summer can officially be traded, and we have until February 6th until the deadline, this is silly season in the NBA.
Yes, sir.
Silly season.
It absolutely is. And it was a big one. This is something that kind of came out of nowhere for it being this early into the season. And it was Dennis Schroder being traded to the Golden State Warriors from the Brooklyn Nets, along with a second-round pick for this season from the Miami Heat in exchange for DeAnthony Melton, two-way guard Reese Beekman, and 3 unprotected second-round picks all over the next few seasons. Joey, we'll start with you. This involved with the Golden State Warriors and the GFF. Which team do you want to start with this trade?
I'll start off with the GFF. Good on you. Get some pieces back, get some draft picks. I know we all value first-round picks, and we all love Dennis Schroder, but let's be real with ourselves. Is Dennis Schroder worth a first-round pick? No.
I was going to ask you guys that question, actually, because Dennis Schroder has been the best player on the Nets. He's been very good this year. He's been a legit 18.8 assist guy. He's been very good this season, and he's led this Nets team to a surprising start, 10 and 15 record or something like that. I mean, they're in the play-in race 25 games in as we lose Nick momentarily. I guess you're not really that surprised that he didn't go for a first round pick. I thought that he might have gone for a first.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Dennis Schroder. He has carried this GFF to mediocrity this year. They've been good to watch. Like, they've been do not get me wrong when I say Dennis Schroder isn't worth a first round pick. But in the Warriors' case, he's not. You're not trading him to be your starting point guard. You're trading him for depth pieces so when you get to the playoffs and so you can continue in case something does happen to Steph. It's more like an insurance policy to help you when it comes time to the bigger time. So he in some cases he can be a first round pick, but for the Warriors he's not. So for the Nets to get 3 second round picks, because second round picks, they're good now. There are people that get undrafted now that are undrafted that make all-star teams now we've seen. So there are so many guys you can draft. The draft is so valuable that these second round picks can be very useful in the Nets rebuilding time. You might find a diamond in the rough, or you can pair that up for another trade because now you have that as trade bait and it holds some value. So like, either way, I think it's a solid trade for the Nets to get him. And again, I think it's a great pickup for the Warriors as well. Like, that's a great piece to get to run your second team. Whew.
Yeah, no question. The 3 second round picks that the Nets got, it's 2026 and 2028, both from Atlanta, and then Golden State's 2029 second round pick. Nick, how about you? Joey and I were talking when you were kind of out of the loop there for a little bit. Do you think that Dennis Schroder could have gone for a first round pick, or are you surprised that he didn't get traded for a first round pick?
I think he could have won for a first round pick. I mean, he's averaging 18 and 8, like you said, and he just had a 34 and 11 game with 0 turnovers against the Bucks, even though they lost that game. I mean, that's first round pick value right there, if you ask me. I do think I don't know if the Warriors got a steal, but it was definitely a good move not giving up a first round pick and getting this kind of value back because DeAnthony Melton was a huge piece. Obviously, the Warriors have kind of committed to not being bad. Like, they want to see what they can do with Steph and Draymond this year, and they have an above 500 record. They've won some good games. So I don't think they're going to commit to being bad right away. And this is a good move to help them out, bringing in more pieces to go next to like Kyle Anderson and Buddy Hield and the other guys that they've made moves for. Because like I said, DeAnthony Melton was a huge part of their hot start. He had like 19 in his last game. And before that, I think he had 14 and 10 in their last 2 wins before he went out. So this Dennis Schroder can like fill that role almost perfectly. He can step in and score double digits if they need to, and then just get the ball moving in that second unit.
Yeah, and DeAnthony Melton out for the season with a knee injury. So that's why the Warriors, it's easier to make this trade. They really don't lose a whole lot with this deal. I mean, DeAnthony Melton already out for the season, 3 second round picks, and a 2-way guy to get Dennis Schroder and a second round pick in your own right. I think this is a great move for the Warriors to get a guy like Dennis Schroder because, they got off to that great hot start. They've definitely tailed off as of late. And couple big reasons for that are the non-Steph Curry minutes when he's off the floor. They've really struggled. And also we've kind of become used to this in Warrior teams of past where they kind of become careless with the basketball and start turning it over a little bit just because of that free-flowing offense. Dennis Schroder, definitely a great playmaker to go along, in that lineup there. Now, Steve Kerr kind of hinted at kind of how he would use Dennis Schroder. Where do you guys think Dennis Schroder could be used with the Warriors? Do you think it is off the bench, or could it be in that starting lineup along with Steph Curry? Because I think if there is a world where Schroder could start along with Curry, kind of have Steph off the ball a little bit more
Absolutely.
and just have Schroder and Curry there as a kind of a dual point guard lineup, because we've seen it work with Schroder in years past. I mean, the one that comes to mind the most is that year in OKC when it was Schroder, Chris Paul, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that all worked out very, very well. Just have a bunch of playmakers out there.
Yeah, I think it can go both ways, and they got the best of both worlds in Schroder to do either off the like Steve Kerr is not going to be shy about changing lineups. He never has been. He plays a lot of guys, and he'll go with whatever works. So whatever's working is who's going to be out there, and I bet you it's going to be sometimes with Schroder in the starting lineup and Steph playing off the ball, because Schroder is such a great offensive creator, and Steph is such a great off the ball threat. But also, yeah, he can score, like I said. Got 34 against Milwaukee, so he can also just run that second unit and be the main offensive plug for spot up guys like Buddy Hield and dish it off to Trace Jackson Davis and stuff.
I agree. That's the great thing about trading for Dennis Schroder, especially when you pointed out his OKC days. The versatility there. And Steve Kerr, like you said, is not shy about it. Like, he will run that out there with Schroder and Curry out there. It just depends on the matchup or how he's feeling, hot and cold streaks, what kind of run you're going on. Steve Kerr is a smart guy. He'll be able to know when he needs to do it or not. But like you said, that's just the great thing about trading for a guy like Dennis Schroder. He's been there. He's done that. He knows how to play with a star guy like Steph Curry. And he just like another thing you said, they turn the ball over. He is a man who knows not to turn the ball over when he needs to. I think it's just a great trade. I think you'll see it in both sides. Off the bench, preferably. I like him off the bench. I think given that second unit, that would be a huge boost to have a second unit with Schroder, Hield, Kyle Anderson, and all that, and David. Like, I don't even remember who's in their starting lineup or anything like that.
Well,
but
yeah, they've been switching it around a whole lot.
They've been switching it up.
Right now, they've been having Draymond off the bench too. So they've been having Schroder, Hield, Draymond off the bench with like Moses Moody, Gary Payton. They have a whole bunch of different things that they can do. Even Lindy Waters has been playing very, very well. He's been playing very, very well. And then for the Brooklyn Nets, although they didn't get a first-round pick in return, I mean, the 3 second-round picks is always nice, like we talked about before. And making the trade at this point definitely makes a lot of sense because, I mean, like we mentioned, they've been playing well. They've been playing a lot better than expected. And while, they're winning these games a little bit, that could potentially be hurting them in the long run because you've got all these teams like the Wizards, the Pelicans, the Jazz, the Raptors, the Hornets that are already kind of getting ahead of you in kind of the tank race, which is kind of where we think the Brooklyn Nets should be kind of going. So I think now they did the trade as early as they could, December 15th. So now you can just start to trade your veterans. I think that over the next few months, we're going to start to see the Nets trade some of their veteran guys to go full in on the tank.
I think if they're really ready to go on the tank, they should do what I think they're going to do, or what you pointed out earlier, is they're going to have Ben Simmons starting point guard. I think they're set. I think once that happens, I think they're rolling to glory.
Yeah, we'll see how Ben Simmons plays. He now will be the full-time starting point guard. At least that should make it a little more fun to watch the Nets as well, because their pace is definitely going to increase a lot now with Ben Simmons. They're starting, full-time at the point guard, and he isn't having by any means a brutal season. I mean, he's still giving you 6.5 assists per game, second on the team, and he isn't even playing a whole lot of minutes. So he still definitely has some potential, and he still has that massive contract that could be moved along later. So you never know. This is a time for a lot of these Brooklyn Nets players, these veteran guys like Simmons, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, to raise up their value a little bit to get traded in the next few months. That's what this, next couple months is going to be like there for the Brooklyn Nets.
It's definitely the motivation Schroder had. Now look at him.
Yeah, now he's on the Warriors competing, for something bigger. So definitely an exciting move, the first big trade of the season. And then we got another little trade that happened a couple days ago. The Miami Heat trading backup center Thomas Bryant to the Pacers for the right to swap 2031 second round picks. Smaller deal, but a good one considering that the Pacers incredibly lost both of their backup centers to Achilles injuries. Still unbelievable that
Yeah.
ended up happening. But now the Pacers get Thomas Bryant, who's a veteran in the league, former NBA champion with the Nuggets a couple of years ago, and kind of fits in with the Pacers. He's kind of similar to Jalen Smith, the guy that they had last year, a guy that can shoot threes, strong finisher inside. So he kind of fits what the Pacers have going on there. So good move for Indiana.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant became the next Pirtle player after this deal because he's now been on 5 teams in 7 seasons and worn a couple different numbers. So keep that. Stay tuned for Thomas Bryant Pirtle pull.
He might be our next one. But yeah, definitely a solid move for the Pacers.
Good move.
And then a couple on the court kind of headlines a little. We've talked a lot about off the court stuff that's happened over the last few days. Well, on Sunday, we kind of hinted at it with the Warriors, the Mavericks. Crazy game that they played on Sunday afternoon. The final score was 143 to 133. NBA record combined 48 made threes in the game. Crazy NBA life that we're in right now, where Golden State hits 27 threes. They only turn the ball over 10 times and they lose the game. It felt like they never really had full control of that. That's just the game that we had on Sunday. It was unbelievable. They were both going back and forth. Everyone had it going. It was crazy. Luka had a 45-point triple-double. Klay Thompson back in Golden State hit 7 threes, had his best game as a Dallas Maverick. And games like that one really show how dangerous this Dallas Mavericks team could be because in the fourth quarter when the Warriors were trying to make a comeback, they started blitzing whoever was bringing the ball up, whether it was Luka or Kyrie. They were even blitzing Spencer Dinwiddie for some reason. But the Mavericks just kept moving the ball. They had several, 6 pass possessions that led to open threes. And it just shows how much of a nightmare it can be for, defenses to try to defend this Dallas team.
Yeah, for sure. New record for most combined threes came on Sunday night, and I think on Friday night, Charlotte and Chicago broke the record for most missed threes. So a whole lot of NBA 3-point history being made. Charlotte, I think, missed 38, and the Bulls missed 37, or one or the other, and they combined for 75 misses. Charlotte it says here that they were 8 of 46.
That's so bad.
That's unbelievable. Who won the game? I don't even know. Did Chicago win that game?
Chicago won 109 to 95 after going 14 of 51 from deep.
Oh my God.
If you get up the threes, you're gonna make some, unless you're the Hornets in that game.
14 of 51 isn't tragically horrible. No. 8 of 46 is pretty disastrous.
8 of 46 is god awful.
Yeah, that's pretty rough there. But
that's the game we watch now in the NBA. You either make the record for most threes in a game, or you get to see the record for most misses for threes.
Yeah, it's bad. Game. It's bad when everyone's trying to shoot almost 50 threes a game. You get up 46 and you still don't score 100 points.
That's pretty rough.
That's all you need to say right there.
Yeah. You talk about all the threes being shot up. This kind of goes into my last point here before we get out of here. Over the last few weeks and kind of the whole season, there's kind of been a little bit of a talking point about how the NBA ratings are kind of getting a little bit lower. And I think there could definitely be a bunch of reasons for that. Do you guys think that it is because of kind of this new style of play where a lot of teams are throwing up a whole bunch of threes? I've been seeing that point on social media a lot where, man, what happened to this old NBA that I love now that there's just a whole bunch of there's so much scoring, there's not enough defense. What do you guys think about that point of it?
Got a lot to say on that. No, not really. It's more of what I see, kind of the similar thing when I see it in the NFL, because I watched a lot of football. They are cracking down on hitting the quarterback, and they're throwing flags all the time. Saying if you touch the receiver when they're going to catch it, automatic flag. There's no hand checking. Kind of the same thing. They've taken away or trying to make it more safe, which I get. But same thing with the NBA. They're trying to make it more safe for all the players, for all the injuries that we've been getting and a lot, and all of the head issue. And they're trying to just protect the players for the
But
future.
unprojected consequences, it's just making it very easy to score.
It's making it very easy to score. It's the fast flowing. Oh, you throw it deep. Oh, you shoot it deep. You make points. Yay. But people like competitiveness. People like people going at each other physically. That's just if you brought a little bit of the physicality back, I think it would help. But I think that definitely has a reason for it. It's not as fun watching when you just see them dribbled on the court, pass a couple times, and then shoot from three every single time. It gets a little stale, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think a good graphic, maybe I can try and paint a picture since we don't have a graphic. It would be to take an account of percentage of threes over total shots over year. So percentage of total shots that come from behind the 3-point line. Probably just straight increasing bar graph over the last decade or so. Yeah, it's a really interesting conversation to have, and it's very nuanced, and there's a lot of different ways to look at a lot of different perspectives to talk about what we're talking about. I honestly think that I don't really have a whole lot of evidence for this. It's kind of just a theory. Is that yeah, it's increasing the whole time. The bar graph is just going up, more and more threes. But I think defenses are starting to change the way that they play based on that too, and not necessarily running teams off the 3-point line, but just making those catches on the 3-point line harder contested, more contested catches, which may lead to lower 3-point percentages and less scoring and lower offensive ratings. So I just think that defenses, again, this is just a theory, I really don't have a whole lot of evidence, are anticipating more 3-point shots, which are leading to better contests and lower offensive ratings.
Yeah, I think I think that's definitely possible. There definitely are increasing, 3-point shots, but we're still getting, the mix of, drives to the basket. Good. I mean, there's great defense still being played. We have great defensive players, great defensive teams. I also wonder how much of the NBA ratings getting lower is also because of all the streaming platforms that people need to buy to watch games, or at least that we're going to have to over the next few seasons with the new TV deal that's kicking in next season. And people just using Stream East, just illegally streaming games to just watch them. I think that could certainly be possible as well. But another big thing, something that I even saw on Saturday a lot when we had these two NBA Cup knockout round games, when it was Atlanta and Milwaukee, Houston and OKC, two matchups that we didn't expect to really see a whole lot, but for core NBA fans, it was still exciting matchups to go ahead and watch. But it's not marquee teams, not really super marquee names besides Giannis and Shea and Damian Lillard and Trae Young. It's not super marquee names. But the NBA doesn't really help themselves with how they market these teams. There was this thing that I saw going around. It was on NBA.com's official game preview of the Rockets and the Thunder. And in the very first sentence, Houston Rockets versus Oklahoma City Thunder may not have been the marquee NBA Cup semifinal the league was hoping for. Blah, blah, blah. Dude, what the heck? Don't trash the product that you're trying to sell. That makes no sense when these are literally two of the best teams in the NBA to start the season. Why are you trying to trash good basketball? It makes no sense.
Treat them all the same and validate what they've done.
It makes no sense.
It's the same reason why I hate all the LA and New York teams. You guys know me. They get all the prime marquee. They get marquee matchups. They get all the advertisement. People only talk about them in good. When they do something bad, it's the world is crashing down. It's the extremes on both ends. But when it comes to the small market teams, it's always, hey, man, this is a good young team up and coming. Man, these guys are going to be good in a couple years. And then in a couple years, you get a team like the Thunder, and people are like, wow, this team really came out of nowhere. It's No, we've been saying they've been a good young core for a couple of years now. This is the culmination. You guys should have known about this if the NBA marketed it that way.
And you kind of see that with how the national TV games kind of get distributed throughout the season. Like the leaderboards, it's always about like getting Golden State on there so fans can watch Steph Curry, the Lakers to get LeBron and Anthony Davis on there. And obviously you get your, New York, markets up there as well. But yet, like these top teams in the conferences, like especially teams like Cleveland, OKC, Memphis, Houston, they've barely gotten any national TV games so far this season. They're going to start to get added, I would assume, later. I know the Cavs and Thunder both got added to the national schedule over the last few days, but I think that's also part of it. Like the best teams are not getting put on national stages, and that's definitely a problem. And then when they do, in the case of Rockets Thunder, it gets previewed as a marquee. I don't know, not the marquee matchup that we wanted. When it's literally going into that game, it's the third and fifth best records in the whole league. That's quite literally a marquee matchup. It's crazy. So and it also doesn't help that the coverage of the league, like the ESPN shows, like whether it's the halftime show, the pregame countdown thing, it's horrible. Like even in this Rockets Thunder like preview in the pregame show, somehow it turned into, can the Knicks play enough defense to win a playoff series? And when the Rockets were winning the game at halftime, Bob Myers was like, yeah, this is really showing how the Rockets aren't going to do well going forward in the season. When it's like, I don't understand.
Just to play devil's advocate, I do totally agree that it probably just comes down to money and like the promotion stuff. Like you get more money from promoting teams with more fans, but that doesn't make it right, or like the fact that like you can build a fan base up from a team that maybe doesn't have one by doing things better. There's definitely all that, but just to play devil's advocate, like we just saw in the World Series, it was the LA Dodgers versus the New York Yankees. Like, and so obviously that was a matchup that the league would have really coveted and wanted to happen. And you would have the attitude of most people would be like, well, it's always the Dodgers and Yankees. They're always in the World Series. But in reality, the Dodgers haven't played the Yankees in the World Series in 43 years. And like it's been since 1981 since those two teams have met. So I think those, although they do get the spotlight more, it causes them to be targeted more too. Just to play like devil's advocate, like it's easier to talk about it when they're always in the news, I guess. I don't know. It's yeah.
No, I mean, no, that's true. I mean, the bigger markets are always going to have, they're always going to get more recognition than the smaller market teams. It's just
I guess what I'm saying is it just makes them an easy target for stuff like this too, when it's not always the case.
Yeah.
No, it makes perfect sense why LA and New York get all the coverage. Like, even though I hate them, I get it because there are millions of people in those cities, and because the NBA is such a global game, those are the teams that have been marketed for the last 40, 50 years. Yeah. So it's what everybody knows. It's just easier for all the money, and it just makes more sense. But you're not, as the NBA, you need to bring up everybody, not just, a couple small market teams here and there when they're doing well, we'll give them a little more. And then these teams, when they're garbage, we'll always keep them up. We will always keep the Knicks and the Lakers up just because, even how bad they are. It doesn't matter. They need to, if they really want the ratings and the game to grow, I think they really need to do a better job at bringing everybody up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it also comes down to, we're in the NBA right now. We haven't, this is something that I've kind of thought about a little bit, how, as we're kind of getting to the end of this LeBron, Steph, Durant era, if you want to say, of, them being the top players in the league for so long, it's kind of unclear who that next big guy is going to be at the top there. Like we kind of knew right after Michael Jordan, it was Kobe and Shaq. Then it was LeBron, and it's been LeBron this whole time. And before MJ, it was like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. right now we kind of don't really know. So the league is still they're kind of lucky that LeBron, Steph, and Durant are still this great at this late age of their career because they can still market them, like they did when they were just in their primes, like, 5, 6, 7 years ago. But you got all these other great teams that are now better than them.
It's the perfect time.
That should be getting the coverage because, like, right now, Golden State, Lakers, Phoenix, even with Durant, these older guys, like, they're solid teams, but they're nothing that special. Like, it's not even that clear if any of them are really championship contenders or anything like that. When you've got all these other teams that are starting to rise up here, I think the league should definitely start taking it into
Well, dude,
those teams.
this goes right into the All-Star conversation because you look at the Western Conference and you fill up that team pretty quick because you're not going to leave Steph and KD and LeBron off the team, but like Jalen Williams is playing really well. Maybe one of those guys don't deserve to be on it this year. Maybe like it's an opportunity to showcase someone else, and maybe in 5 years, J-Dub's going to have 4 All-Star games and 3 rings, and it's like, damn, we really kept LeBron at 40 years old over this guy who's got a couple, like a Finals MVP, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable conversation to think about. I mean, especially for the league that, like, I mean, LeBron's obviously going to make all the All-Star games because, I mean, just him being LeBron, he's going to make every All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
But, a guy like Jalen Williams, who was on the bubble to make it this year, he definitely could miss out because of some of these older guys. I mean, LeBron is also still playing at an All-Star level. Like, he's still playing amazing. But
it's like a gatekeeping situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more of not giving the benefit of the doubt to the younger guys. You're being like, oh, well, this guy's kind of had the position locked up because he's still playing great. It's like, yeah, but these younger guys are playing as great like this year. Yeah, but LeBron's been doing it, so we give it to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess the league has kind of been doing a better job of it. I mean, last year we even saw it with Anthony Edwards bringing the Timberwolves up. And since this season, they've kind of been disappointing. We haven't really heard a lot about Anthony Edwards this season, even though he's been amazing this season. Like a guy like Paolo Banchero was supposed to be kind of like that for Orlando. He got injured early. So it'll just be interesting to see how the league goes forward. But yeah, to me, like the ratings getting lower, I feel like a lot of it's just the NBA's own fault with the way that they're marketing the league and less about the on the court product.
I agree.
But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Certainly a lot to talk about here today. Excited for the last few episodes here in 2024. Coming up, we're going to do some sort of fantasy draft like we did around this time last year. I love doing drafts. We haven't really done it yet this season because it's, we've been in season. There's been so much to do, but we'll definitely have one of those coming up here. So certainly a lot in store here on the Run in the Paint podcast coming down to the end of the calendar year.
For sure.
You guys got anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, Cat returns to Minnesota on Thursday night, so watch out for that.
Ooh,
that's right. That'll certainly be a fun matchup there. That's got to be that's definitely a national TV game, I believe.
I doubt it. It's in Minnesota.
It is the Knicks. I think they did add it to the schedule. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the championship game here tonight. Enjoy it. We'll catch you in the next one.
Absolutely. Peace.